What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I drilled some holes into the bottom of these buckets. Then I made my own potting mix consisting of 1 part compost, 1 part peat moss, and a handful of vermiculite. I mixed it all together, then added a splash of water. Delicious. I filled each bucket with the mix and added some of this organic fertilizer. You can see how root-bound my peppers are. They've been in their small pots for way too long. Oh well, here goes nothing. I spend a lot of time in the Nebraska garden, and most of it is spent just winging it. I watered the pepper in and repeated this for each plant. They look so happy. What I did today in the Nebraska garden. My arugula has been loving the rain we're getting. I think it's time for a harvest. Check out this big boy. The arugula grows so quickly, there's always enough to make one of my favorite dishes in the kitchen. Back inside, I wash the arugula and give it a whirl. I'm thinking today I'll add some spinach to my salad. I'll heat up a pan and add olive oil, butter, minced garlic, and a touch of lemon juice. Stir it all together, then plop your greens right on there. Salt, pepper, add the spinach, more salt, more pepper. Nom, 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 nom. And there you have it. Tastes good, makes you feel good, straight from the garden, couldn't ask for more. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I filled this large pot with my homemade potting mix. Then I added some organic fertilizer. I transplanted a couple lavender that I've been growing inside, plus this rosemary plant. There's a great chance I mixed up which plant was which, they look very similar. Then I sowed a few marigold seeds. My wife often chooses to leave the garden to me, but she specifically requested for a combination of these plants. She mentioned this group of plants would help repel mosquitoes, something I'd really love to do naturally. Finally, I watered everything in. Everything I know about gardening tells me there are way too many plants in this small of a space, but you know, I'm just gonna send it. I'd rather learn from my failures than fear failing in the first place. In the meantime, check out these squash plants. I'm so ready to put these in the garden, it's just a matter of days at this point. To end my day in the Nebraska garden, I happily mowed the lawn. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I filled this hanging basket with my homemade potting mix. Then I transplanted these strawberries, which I've been growing indoors. I really wanted to try growing my own strawberries from seed this year, but I understand that it's quite difficult. I went with the hanging basket for the strawberries so the vines can droop over the sides. Believe it or not, sometimes we do focus on the aesthetic at the Nebraska garden. Since I only had 2 hanging baskets, I saved some of the struggling strawberries for this pot here. Let's call this the infirmary for now. I decided to make up a few more mosquito repellers that my wife asked for. These consist of rosemary, lavender, and marigold. Except for this pot. I started this anise hyssop inside and don't really know what to do with it, so I guess in the pot it goes. And this one gets its own special pot. And you get a little lavender, or probably rosemary, I really can't tell. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I received a really good suggestion from the YouTube comments, so I'm adding a white cross to my infirmary here. I think it's really cute. We had another big storm last night, so I checked to make sure all the plants were okay. In fact, they're all thriving. The first week of May has given us a ton of rain, and I'm really thankful. I'm especially excited for this Swiss chard with the red and the orange colors. I just think they're neat. These sugar snap peas are getting bigger and bigger by the day. I'm running them up this trellis in hopes of eventually all of them getting onto the netting. It'll be easy picking from there on. Some of these guys are having a hard time finding their way up there though. I'll have to spend some time thinking of a solution. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I divided my large raised bed into 3 foot by 3 foot sections. In the center of each section I built a mound of compost. I added organic fertilizer under the mound and then built it back up. I transplanted one of my squash plants that I've been growing indoors. This one gives a nice golden yellow zucchini, one of my absolute favorite vegetables to eat. I repeated the process 2 more times to fill this row with the golden yellow zucchini. I decided to grow my green zucchini vertically this year, mostly in an effort to save space. I repeated this 5 times, so every 3 foot by 3 foot square had 2 zucchini. I had a couple golden zucchini left, so I added them to my spare containers. This guy needed a little help. Don't think I forgot about the spaghetti squash. All this transplanting made for a long day in the garden, but I'll take that any day of the week. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I covered the soil in all of my containers with a thin layer of mulch. The mulch will help the soil retain water during hot sunny days this summer. And believe me, there is no shortage of hot sunny days in the Nebraska garden. That's pretty much all I did today, but sometimes it's nice to take a little break. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I put up a couple trellises and amended my raised bed with some compost. It's time to stop procrastinating and time to start sowing some summer vegetables. I started by sowing 4 cantaloupe seeds in a 2-foot by 1-foot rectangle. I overseed just in case one of them doesn't germinate. I will later thin the cantaloupe down to 2 per rectangle. Then I watered everything in. Next I planted cucumbers. I planted 4 seeds per 1 square foot, which I will later thin to 2 cucumber plants. This variety is great for pickling, so if you know of any great dill pickle recipes, please let me know about it in the comments. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I nearly planted this roly-poly after dropping a handful of okra seeds. Look, he blends right in. I planted 6 of the actual okra seeds in each of these 2-foot by 1-foot rectangles. I'll later thin these down to just 3 per rectangle. I harvested these radishes a couple days ago and I've been lazy about my succession planting. I practice square foot gardening in the Nebraska garden, and one of the fundamental keys to square foot gardening is maximizing your space. That means growing as much food as you can in the space that you have, and to do this you need to always have something planted. I transplanted some marjoram that I've been growing inside. Over here I sowed 4 basil seeds per square foot. In reality I planted 2 or 3 seeds in each hole, but once they sprout I'll thin them down. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I noticed I made a mistake back when I transplanted my zucchini. When you start seeds indoors, after the plant is mature enough to go outside, you need to get it acquainted to the sun. I did leave my zucchini outside for about a week and a half, but I must have overestimated the amount of sun they were getting. Most days the zucchini wasn't outside until around 5 p.m., so these leaves will be permanently damaged. Not all hope is lost, and this won't kill the plants, it'll just set them back a little bit. Apparently the spaghetti squash had been living it up in the shade. Another effect of the sun is my arugula and spinach plants bolting. Flowering means they're going to stop producing leaves, but I'll be able to get a lot of seeds off of them, hopefully saving me some money next spring. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I decided to finally sow some flower seeds in the garden. I started by planting some nasturtium seeds in this container. I sowed 6 nasturtium seeds in total. Let's see if that's enough. Then I gave the container a nice drink of water. I also gave all my seed packets a nice drink. Whoops. I planted some marigold seeds in between my yellow zucchini. From everything I've researched, marigolds are one of the better flowers at repelling harmful insects. Plus, I just like the way that they look. I decided to plant 2 different kinds of zinnias as well. I've never really grown flowers before, so I'm kind of winging this. I'm just hoping the pretty flowers attract pollinators. Then I watered everything in. Next, I'll have to find a place for these sunflower seeds. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I sowed edamame, radishes, Swiss chard, chives, more radishes, and parsley in this raised bed. If my choices seem a little random, it's because they are. I'm sort of limit testing the garden this summer, seeing which plants I can grow when and where. With the hot days of summer rapidly approaching, cool weather veggies like lettuce and arugula will have to make way for warmer weather crops. If you have any suggestions for what I could plant, please let me know in the comments. Although I'd like to use these videos to teach, I'm also using them to teach myself. I'm still a total beginner in the garden. Part of why I started making these videos is to show that anybody can garden. Even somebody like me who prior to last year had never so much as planted a seed. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? Temperatures have risen in the greenhouse. The tomatoes and eggplants are thriving, but I'm worried about my strawberries, so I decided to put up a 70% shade cloth over the greenhouse. I'm hoping this helps the greenhouse stay a little bit cooler during the summer. The main point of the greenhouse is to extend the growing season, but since the season has already started, I need a creative solution to keep the greenhouse going. I plan on starting some seeds inside here this summer, so I don't want it to be too hot. It doesn't look perfect, but it's a temporary solution, something I'll have to live with. It looks pretty good from the inside. Time will tell if it keeps out the heat. Since it's Mother's Day, I decided to harvest some ingredients for a salad for my mom. I harvested spinach, scallions from these green onions, and dill for a creamy dill dressing. Oh, it smells so good. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? I finally found the little bro who's been taking bites out of my broccoli. I tracked him down thanks to the droppings he left behind. A few of these lettuce plants were covered in the stuff. It was a clever hiding spot, but eventually I caught on. But so many leaves were covered in poop that there couldn't have been just one. Found little bro number 2 in here. Looks like I have a whole family on my hands. I started checking more leaves and this is what I found. There were 4 little bros living it up in this plant alone. Found this little bro, found this little bro, another little bro over here, another little tiny bro. I found a a few more little bros just by digging in the dirt. I have no clue how many of them are truly there. No more planting lettuce here in the future. On the bright side, my squash plants are looking great. They've recovered from whatever transplant shock they were experiencing. I'm super excited to start throwing these bad boys on the grill. What happened today in the Nebraska garden? Something strange has happened to my pepper plants. The little buds have turned to a strange brown color. Some of the buds have these little sticks coming out of them, which is very strange. One of my strawberries in the infirmary is no more. The squash in the infirmary has seen its final days, so I'm going to replace it with a loofah plant. Definitely a unique plant and one I'm excited to see grow. I watered the loofah seed in and noticed I still had a few open spots in my raised bed. Hopefully the loofah seeds fit here nicely. My star pupil zucchini has produced a male flower. Once this flower opens up, I'll be able to manually pollinate the female flowers. Even my green zucchini is starting to produce flowers. While I'm at it, I figured I better plant these sunflower seeds. Sunflowers are my wife's favorite. They were in her wedding bouquet and I really want to grow some for her this year. Sometimes the best thing to come out of the Nebraska garden is just pure happiness.